nonprofits, when they get into branding, it's all about how do you make an emotional connection? So, because you have a passion and a mission, how do you get others on board?
I love design. I love branding. And when I started Watts of Love, it wasn't like I had a pile of cash and like, oh, I can hire somebody to create a logo for me
Right.
or, so I think as an entrepreneur, you just have to take that first step,
Mhm.
right? Use what you have, create something that you're maybe just okay with,
Okay.
but take the next step, right? Don't wait for it to be perfect.
Welcome to the Turbo Branding Show, where we help you ignite your growth by leveraging your brand to grow faster, easier, and more successfully. I'm your host, Sue Kirschner, and today I'm welcoming Nancy Economou to the show. Let's delve into today's episode and turbocharge your brand. First of all, thank you so much for being here, Nancy. I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. So, we're going to talk all about the importance of branding for nonprofit organizations and branding your mission. But first, let me share your impressive background with everybody. Nancy is the founder and CEO of Watts of Love, a global nonprofit dedicated to breaking the cycle of poverty for people living around the world without electricity. She's a recipient of the 2024 Red Cross Global Citizenship Award, and she is an inventor and public speaker who designed and patented a durable solar light. Through Watts of Love, she leads efforts to combine solar technology with financial literacy, which empowers communities to achieve financial freedom and lasting change. So awesome. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, but okay, so even though I read your bio, let me ask you a few questions so we can get to know your personal brand and the mission of the organization. So, first off, how did you get interested in this idea about electricity and the impact that has on communities, and then take the first step into building an organization to do something about that?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been a twisted kind of turning road, and my background was in high-end jewelry sales for Cartier here in Chicago. So I say I went from serving the top 1% of the world to now serving the bottom 1% of the world. And when I started having children, I stopped working because I felt like I wanted to be at home and care for, I have 5 sons. So
No.
as a stay-at-home mom, I was very busy, caring for my children, but I had the opportunity to go to the Philippines in 2009. And when I was there, I was like very curious on how people were living. So I went to a feeding program. And when I was at this feeding program, the teachers, there was a young girl whose face was all burnt, and the teachers were putting toothpaste on her face. And I'm like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened to this little girl? And they're like, oh, this happens all the time. Children are burnt because they don't have electricity, and they use a small kerosene lamp that when it falls over, it just ignites. And
Ignites. Yeah.
so, right, as a mom, I thought, oh my gosh, like, how do
Yeah.
you put your child in front of a kerosene lamp any night, every night without having another option like that repeated trauma? And then how do you educate them? How do you, like, just everything that goes into the night
Right.
being a mother? Came home from that trip, and I can tell you that my heart was transformed.
Hmm.
And if you remember back in 2009, there was very little solar. There was
Right.
LEDs were just coming on the market. UN Sustainability Development Goals were not there. I mean, it was a different
It was
time,
new. Right.
but I felt compelled, even though with all these children, I felt compelled to do something. And, I'll just share personally, I think as a woman, there's so many times in our lives that we kind of discount who we are and the power that we carry. My
Right.
marriage was falling apart. We were not, we were part of the downturn in the economy with real estate. So it wasn't like my life was fabulous and I'm going to start a non-for-profit.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite was true. So yeah, started Watts of Love in 2013, a few years of dreaming. I think as an entrepreneur and wanting to create something, you come up with the name. I
Right.
had this dream, and it's called Watts of Love. And I started sharing about that and finally took the step in 2013
To pursue it. Right.
to pursue it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, again, a lot of people have dreams, very few make them come to fruition. And like you said, it wasn't like you just had spare time sitting around. I think I'll dabble a little bit, in a charitable endeavor. You put your heart and soul into doing something at a time that, as you mentioned, was maybe a little bit rough in your life. So kudos for all of that. So yeah, I want to get into a lot about your journey in how you built it. But before we even go further, how does providing solar lights help break that circle of poverty that you and I were talking about? What is the power of electricity for these communities?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of my journey, not really realizing like I felt like I couldn't imagine living in darkness.
Yeah,
I couldn't make the leap between what did that really mean. And what I can tell you is the very first three lights that I gave out, and I think this is for an entrepreneur for like branding and marketing and knowing who you are.
yeah,
This was the lesson that I learned. I went back to the Philippines and ordered 1,000 solar lights. Like I was naive enough to think, oh, global logistics and getting it through, customs
right.
to the Philippines. All 1,000 lights were stuck in customs. And I felt like a failure,
Mm,
right? So it's this whole imposter syndrome and, feeling like, what am I doing? Who do I think I am?
who do I
All
think I am? Right. Yeah.
right. And it's that self-talk that we, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you have to just kind of work through that.
Yes.
But I got to this remote island, primitive, like living 300 years ago. Not even a bicycle, no concrete, no doctors have ever been there. I mean, primitive.
Yeah.
And so now I only had three lights because the rest of them were stuck in customs.
Okay.
And those three lights became the pillars of Watts of Love and also me learning really what I was doing.
Okay.
First light that I gave out was to an older woman because now I had to be strategic with who I'm giving the lights to.
Yes.
And she said to me, I cannot accept this solar light from you. I said, why? And she said, I am too poor for you to love me.
Mm,
I've been cursed by God. I've been abandoned by my family, and my government doesn't know I exist.
wow.
So again, I didn't realize that bringing somebody a solar light would have such a heart connection.
Yes.
So realizing that's something that was important to me.
Okay.
The second light I gave out was to a mother of 7 children, gave her the light. The next morning, I thought, what's it like to be living? And again, curiosity, I think, is creating a brand, always being curious,
Right.
learning from your customer, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing, even though it's a non-for-profit. Went down there the next morning. I'm like, Ruth, how was your night? What did you do? And she said, excuse me, her name was Emily. And she
Yeah.
said, well, I got my children in bed and I stayed up and I made 1,000 bamboo barbecue sticks.
Wow.
Light, right? So this is a woman who has no formal education.
Right.
She's living on probably 50 cents a day, 7 children, barely feeding them. She became an entrepreneur. So Light releases the entrepreneurship. She stayed up and made these 1,000 bamboo barbecue sticks. She can sell them on the mainland for 20 pesos. She
Hmm.
didn't buy kerosene, which was another 20. So this was me learning how important light is.
Right.
And the last light that I gave out was the most important because when I went there, the husband said, don't talk to my wife, only speak to me. She has
Okay.
no education. She won't understand. And he had shared that night for dinner. They licked their finger, stick their finger in salt, and rub salt on their tongues to trick their body into the fact that they had no food.
Mm,
So, gave them the light, came back to the United States. 30 days later, all 1,000 lights were released from customs. And my partner said, come back. How are we going to distribute these?
right.
When I went back, that uneducated woman came out down from the mountain and said to me, Nancy, I want you to know since we've received this light, we have never gone hungry one day. And I said, I don't understand. How is this solar light
Helping. Right.
able to feed your family? She said, every day I hide a little bit of kerosene money or candle money that I used to pay from my husband. So I always have money to feed my family.
Excellent.
So as a woman, I
Yeah.
could relate, right?
Yes.
Stashing a little bit of money for a rainy day. So that's, again, learning from my customers. How can I teach So who are your customers?
Right.
Uneducated, no formal education, can't read, can't count. How do I create a way to teach them and understand savings when they've never
Yes.
heard the word, diversification, but start with a chicken,
Right.
then take 10 chickens and buy a goat. And so that's really the secret sauce to Watts of Love. We don't just hand out lights. Light becomes a tool when after we teach financial literacy, like you have this opportunity, you can become an entrepreneur.
Right.
Children's education is going to come up because now they have a light to study. So those were the things that I didn't realize at the beginning and how solar light is ending generational poverty because it releases the money, they can reinvest in themselves, and the education goes up.
I love it. I love it. And I love this story because there's so much to unpack here from a branding perspective, right? So I'm all giddy and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to ask you next. So, but there's a couple things. One is you're using storytelling, right, to
Yes.
create an emotional connection, which is amazing. You do a fantastic job of that. And that's a lot of nonprofits when they get into branding, and I've worked with a few in the past, it's all about, yes, how do you make an emotional connection? So because you have a passion and a
Mhm.
mission, how do you get others on board, right? So, and storytelling is definitely a key part of that and tapping into emotions. But then there's also, like you said, as you start to grow and you need, and I'm going to ask you about who partnered with you in the Philippines and investors and all that. There has to be something more than just the emotional connection to the brand. There has to be a financial impact as part of the story. And you've talked about it from a standpoint of you're empowering these individual families.
Mhm.
But what else was a story that you had to tell as part of the brand to find a partner in country or to find investors here who are going to help you push your mission?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you a story that I found very interesting
Yes.
because I have an eye, I love design, I love branding. And when I started Watts of Love, it wasn't like I had a pile of cash and like, oh, I can hire somebody to create a logo for me
Right.
or, so I think as an entrepreneur, you just have to take that first step,
Hmm.
right? Use what you have, create something that you're maybe just okay with,
Okay.
but take the next step, right? Don't wait for it to be perfect. So I'm going to talk about my logo.
Okay.
At I love logo now. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to say that. But when I started Watts of Love, I thought, okay, how am I going to create a logo? Watts of Love. I went onto the internet and did some logo like global, like, okay, I have $200 and people would submit and you'd get submissions and I
Right.
could choose one. Well, with the word love in it and light, like I was getting really strange logos.
Yeah.
But I finally, I'm going back and forth. I'm like, I'm putting so much energy into this that I wasn't moving forward. So I
Right.
finally, I'm like, you know what? Just this is good enough
Yeah.
to move forward. So I just chose something, move forward. And I'm like, at some point in time, I can go back and redo that, but I have to keep going. So eventually a local person in Chicago who's a rock star logo person said,
Yeah.
they love what you're doing, but I hate your logo. I'm like, great, will you help me?
Great. Fix
So, right, fix it.
it. Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage other entrepreneurs, don't get stuck, whether it's your website or your logo, keep going.
Right.
And then so here I had a bad logo.
Yeah.
Now with our new branding, which the raised heart was from a MacBook for brightness,
Yeah.
right? Here's one of our logos, Watts of Love. And when I started Watts of Love, I was fortunate enough, my brother is a professional photographer. So we had fabulous photographs, what I consider a great name. And now I had a fabulous logo that I was really pleased with. So looking at Watts of Love with our good photography and logo, finding donors, they would look at our website and our logo and our images and say, you don't need money. or they would think we were really well funded because now we didn't look like this startup, grassroots, business or non for profit. It doesn't matter, right?
It's a
When you
visual cue.
it
Yes.
was a visual cue that kind of, I had to explain where are we actually? Because what we had as far as branding, I believe was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, it's been a fun journey.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of a quote because I've had some clients come up to me after I've spoken about branding and things like that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed to show you my website, or I'm so embarrassed about this, or I don't get it. And I love this Arthur Ashe quote, which is start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can, and move forward. So that's absolutely. So that reminded me, of what you were talking about there because yeah, you don't suddenly, branding is a journey and you need to understand that it may take a while and it may take continuous tweaking to get it to where you need it to be. But like you said, if it's good enough to get you to that next level, use it. Stop obsessing over it or trying to make it perfect because the mission is more important at that point than getting a design correct. So,
And especially if you're a visionary or a creative, it's never going to be good enough,
yeah,
right? So sometimes you have to get out of your way to take that next step. And I'm
exactly.
still looking like, okay, what other color can we add to it? Like I'm still tweaking and it's a living, breathing process.
It is a living, breathing process. And yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, stop. I have to tell myself, just stop. I'm like, wait, but I'm a branding person. I've got to make it look perfect. It's like, no, just stop and get it out there. So awesome. Well, one of the things that I find fascinating about working with nonprofit organizations is the fact that you have so many different target markets that you have to communicate with, right? Whether that's the people you serve, whether it's partners who are going to help you with your mission, whether it's donors, volunteers, things like that. But tell me a little bit more about how you worked with local leaders in
Mhm.
the country and what did you leverage as part of the brand to get them on board with this initiative?
Yeah, great question because non-for-profits have done it wrong in the past, right? Or got have a bad rap for doing
Hmm.
it wrong. And my goal was to empower the local people with dignity and not showing them as victims.
Okay.
The problem is poverty
Yeah.
and the lack of opportunities. So when we go into a community, we work with a traditional authority. So that's like a chief or somebody who kind of represents that area.
Yeah.
We explain what we're doing. When we go into an area, we light every single home.
Hmm.
They receive one light
Okay.
because I don't want to cause problems for my local partners because we get to leave. They're there and suffering the consequences or seeing the reward of light showing up in their community. So we have a very strategic way of identifying the poorest communities. We work with the local chiefs, maybe healthcare workers. We create a list, like everything is very strategic,
Yeah.
one light per home. There's rules that go along with that. And when we come in, if I bring photographers from the United States or my local people are taking photographs and capturing stories, we explain why, right? We're
Yeah.
here today to light every home. The reason that we've been successful back in the United States is we're sharing your stories of how light can help. We're educating the Americans because back in the United States, people don't understand how a simple little light
Hmm.
can transform what I believe a nation.
Yeah.
So we're asking for permission. So we do this in a public setting. So there might be
Yeah.
100, 1,000 people there. We're asking for permission to take your photograph, share your stories. And so collectively, and then we say, and if you say no, that's okay. You still receive the light.
Okay.
But what happens is I have like 500 or 1,000 people saying, I need to tell you my story. We can't leave. You didn't photograph. Like it's
Right.
because they know the power of what's happening. And so we share these stories of success and sometimes failure, right?
Mhm.
Somebody lost their light, and this is what they were able to do. They had saved chickens and goats, and now they can buy another one. So it's through the storytelling as part of our teaching,
Yeah.
not only to them, but then also back here in America.
Yeah. Do you have an issue selling your mission, sharing your brand with people here in the United States? Meaning you're helping a lot of communities that we don't see. We don't see them on TV necessarily, or we don't, talk about what's going on in other global countries and communities and things like that. So do you need to sell as part of the brand story why you're helping communities elsewhere?
Yes. So most people, if you say we're giving out shoes,
Hmm.
people go, I get it.
Yeah.
Or we're bringing water wells. There's nothing else you need to say,
Yeah.
right? Americans, we don't understand the power of a light. But what happens is if the East Coast, like New York, lost power for 48 hours, it's headline news, Puerto
Right.
Rico. How could we let Puerto Rico sit in the dark like for 30 days?
Right.
I'm like, there's 1 billion people living in darkness since the beginning of time.
Right.
It should be headline news, right?
Yes.
Light releases everything. They're spending 30% of their income, and I almost become an infomercial, right? They're spending 30% of their income burning kerosene. It helps with education, it helps with safety and security. Bad things happen in the dark. You talk about the environment.
Hmm.
Families now have gone from kerosene to very inexpensive disposable batteries. Every family approximately throws away 550 batteries a year. And they're substance farmers, so they throw those batteries, they don't have garbage or recycling
Right.
or so they throw it outside of their house. It's now in their farmland, it's leaching into their water. If I light 20,000 homes, which we have in communities,
Yeah.
that's 10 million batteries in the first year. Our light and our program is this little stone with this massive ripple effect.
Right.
So when I talk to people, it's what are you passionate about? Education. Well, education goes up significantly. We have data to prove it. We have monitoring and evaluation. You care about the planet. Let me tell you about batteries. And, you know, it's a lot.
It's a
But
lot. Yeah.
I know we have a unique program. And then I think what happens in the United States is people are like, you can't hand it out for free. They won't value it. I understand why people say that.
Yeah.
But when you go to people who are living on 90 cents a day,
Yeah.
they need an opportunity because nobody else is showing up.
Right.
That's part of our teaching. Here's your light. This is how it works. Here's your bank. This is how you need to save. And
Mhm.
then they leave with a piece of paper, which is basically their business plan. It's pictures. What is your first step? Buy a chicken in 7 days. Like, so they leave with every tool to be successful. And let me tell you, when you can't feed your children,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how nice a school is. If I can't feed my children, they're not going to the school. You
Absolutely.
have a great hospital, I can't afford to pay for the medicine or the doctor. So I believe there's an order in which we can impact communities, and it starts within your home. If you can't take care of your children, it's
Yeah.
nothing else matters,
Nothing
right?
else matters. Absolutely. So, and I love what you're talking about in terms of going and talking to different people and selling them on the story, the brand, because this is something I talk a lot about with my clients is your brand promise is the same no matter who you're talking to, right? It's like this is what drives us. However, if you happen to be talking to someone who, like you said, climate change is a trigger for them, or education is something they care about, or ending poverty is something they care about, you can tweak your brand messaging
Yes.
based on what is going to resonate most with them because the promise is still the same. It's just the way you present the message to them that's going to make a big difference and whether they buy into the story or generate an emotional connection with your brand.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is just keeping it simple.
Yeah.
That's like anytime I start to drift a little bit, I'm like, what are we called to do? Why did we start this? Why did we start giving the box? Well, we wanted it to be a bank and somewhere to keep it safe. We're
Mhm.
not getting rid of the box because it represents savings. It's
Yep.
part of our education. Additionally, lots of love, and this is for branding, is about a feeling,
Yeah.
right? Like what emotions do we evoke when we're giving out a light? Your name, Sue, like we call the person's name,
Yeah.
they come up and they receive the light. They've never even seen a box.
Yeah.
So they're handed this box so it represents excellence
Yeah.
and that is transferred to them. So I truly believe that we are there not only with the education, we're giving a product that is going to last up to 10 years if they take care of it. And
Hmm.
then how do they feel? Are you just handing the light like, here you go, here? No, that's and they also have to believe leaving that they can
Hmm.
because they're probably in a position thinking that they can't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm super impressed, not only with your mission and your passion and building the organization, but how savvy you are with the brand and storytelling and getting all of that out there in order to fundraise or attract volunteers, attract donors, attract, people to support you. So in country, when you have these people who are going out and teaching with financial literacy and presenting, the solar lights and all that, are those people volunteers in country, or do you actually have a staff in every country that you're going into?
Well, that's one of my favorite parts. I mean, the lights, everything is great, but what we have created is kind of like a franchise model.
Okay.
We have, so I'll take Malawi because Malawi is the third poorest, third least electrified, significantly in worse shape than Haiti. Like
Mm,
if you compare Haiti to Malawi, Malawi needs a lot more help.
wow. Hmm.
Not that I ever want to compare poverty, but if you're looking at the nation, right?
Right.
So in Malawi, we have about 350 trainers trained with the Watts of Love scaling franchise model, right? How
Okay.
do we do things? How do we create a list? How do we work with the local chiefs? Everything is laid out. So with those 350 people, as we fundraise here, we call it a Watts of Love Lighthouse. So right now we have 15 lighthouses throughout the nation of
Okay.
Malawi. We have basically the leader, and then there's 12 to 20 people that they have as trainers. They are paid a fair day wage, right? So all of this is done before we come in. What is a fair day wage? They receive a uniform, they receive a light, they receive a 3-day training. My favorite part of this process is at the end of it, everyone receives a certificate. And we have a certificate that has a gold stamp on it and it's embossed. It's like Harvard Business
Oh,
School
yeah.
graduation. They have never graduated from anything, most of the people that we have as our leaders, like,
Yeah.
and what we're imparting and is those soft skills, especially to women. They
Yeah.
don't have a voice. We teach them project your voice. You can talk to chiefs. Like we're giving them an opportunity to be role models for young girls
Hmm.
and role models for other women. And Sue, I just want to share one story because this is something that I usually don't talk a lot about, and I probably should, but I have a lot.
Yeah.
Is there's a woman, Maria, who has been our trainer for about 4 years. So I think 2021 is when we met her. When we first met her, she had 4 children. Her husband actually tried killing her, smashing her head in with a brick. She has a
Mm.
permanent huge lump on her head. And Maria was so quiet and just struggling, living literally on the dirt floor with her children. She went through our program for the last 4 years. And again, the Watts of Love program is just a complement. We're not their permanent solution.
Okay.
It's supposed to complement what they're already doing in their community, right?
Yeah.
So for the last 4 years, when we were able to send lights, we pay her for the day. She's saving, not buying kerosene or batteries. She bought a sewing machine. She started sewing. She now has a house. She started building bricks at night. She can do that with her light. Her daughter's in college. Like
Hmm. Amazing.
she
Amazing
is,
transformation.
and she has a voice. She knows how to use it. Like, and that's part of our goal is to give women who want to be leaders in their community. She has now become the role model, and everybody knows, oh, Maria was, her husband tried to kill her. She's living in the dirt. Like everybody knew where she came from. And that's our goal with Watts of Love is to give those women and other people that opportunity to be a lighthouse in their own community.
Yeah, that's special. Absolutely amazing. So I'm going to ask you one more branding question, and then we'll move on towards the end here. I could talk to you all day about this because it's fascinating. But okay, so we talked about, this franchise model, and you're
Mhm.
obviously global, and you've built an organization where you have ambassadors, employees, partners around the world. How do you control the brand? How do you make sure they're communicating it correctly, that they're delivering on the mission you want them to deliver on, and they're using the same language you would like to
Language.
get across? So, how do you do that?
Yeah, great question. So I think it's heart alignment. I have been fortunate enough to find people who believe, and again, this was us going in with what are our core values. We believe anything's possible. Like we go through our core values and finding people that align with your core values. And so I have a local person, his name is Daniel, who is one of our drivers, but he's spectacular. I mean, spectacular.
Yeah.
And we were going into another country, Zambia, which is right across the border. And we were there for one of the first times as we were watching them distribute. And Daniel is, he's on it. He's
Yeah.
directing. I said, Daniel, let's not tell them what to do. Let's observe what they have done because this was right after COVID. So things were different during that time. And he
Okay.
said, oh, that's interesting. And so I said, number one, we're going to learn where there needs to be coaching.
Right.
And guess what? As a leader, we may learn something new.
Exactly. They may teach you something you didn't realize was important.
And then Daniel said, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So we were able to sit there and they had done some really neat things, like just a little different. Like most of the people don't have formal education. So when he was talking about the light, he'd go, boom, like, which made sense to them. It was a culturally relevant
Hmm.
boom, boom. And Daniel said, that's great. I'm going to bring that back to Malawi. And I said, what we need to allow room for is a flavor
Yeah.
each area. Are we hitting our bullet points the Watts of Love way?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, let's have other flavors for different areas. So
Hmm.
we've allowed space for those different flavors. And I think casting vision.
Okay.
I truly believe that Malawi is going to become the lighthouse to Africa. We are creating a movement and a flavor of Malawi that will be the same in Kenya or Congo or South Africa. And it's this movement of Watts of Love program. And I've had other people in country say to us, where did you find these people?
Yeah.
But we've had a clear vision, we've shared it, and we've templatized everything, and we've made it simple. So even with people with no formal education, a lot of our teachings are with pictures.
Okay.
And we give an invitation in for everyone.
Yeah. Love it. All right, so I have one more question for you about the branding, but something you had talked about with me before we got onto this conversation was about you have a plan for how many donors you need in order to
Oh,
move to the next stage of your mission, right? So
yes.
I have a question for you is how do you communicate with these donors? What is the secret sauce
Mhm.
to, again, getting that emotional connection, but then also helping them understand the impact or the financial, piece behind it. How do you go after? Because I think a lot of nonprofit organizations would love to know what's your methodology in terms of attracting donors and getting them to join on to help with the mission?
Yeah, so that has taken a while because it's hard.
Yeah,
When you're hearing no, or you're like, this makes perfect sense. Look at how we align. And they're like, no, thank you.
yeah.
Look, why
What?
are you not seeing what I'm seeing, right? But I think it's just, I had to flip the switch as far as like, it's not no, it might just be not right now.
Not right now. Yeah.
So I think very early on, it was not taking any offense and leaving those relationships and doors open.
Hmm.
And somebody had said to me at the very beginning of starting Watts of Love, the most important donation is what donation? Your first one.
Yeah.
Once you have that first donation, you need to steward it, thank them. And that's where I think a lot of non-for-profits kind of lose it.
Okay.
We did handwritten notes, like I would have volunteers, and it was building our base and
Yeah.
continuing to let them know how important their gift was.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, is thanking people and acknowledging it. There was a point where I would distribute every single light and it would say, thank you, Sue, right? And I would send you a picture of somebody holding, I tried making a lot of personal connections,
I like that.
making
Yeah.
people personal connections, especially at the beginning as you're growing your base. Now, tell your story, tell your story, tell your story.
Hmm.
And that is what led, and it's show your passion, but be willing to be vulnerable. Like, I don't know what I'm always doing, but
Yeah.
I know we have something that works. So, shared my vision with a woman a few years ago. And as you mentioned, we are on a mission. I cast vision, right? A big vision of what we're going, because you want to have a plan and
Right.
a large vision that they can get behind. And we were fortunate enough. I think we won the non-for-profit lottery. She donated $1 million. And she said, you need to spend every single penny in the next year,
Wow.
which is really scary because you're putting together a foundation that's now dependent on that
Yeah.
with no commitment from her.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so do I believe in my mission, and just started moving forward, putting all these pieces together for scale, which I believe we're going to start lighting nations. And she has now challenged us to raise another $4 million, and she is going to match. I have to
Okay.
find, and she's looking for that big leaps. I need to find four other $1 million donors. So if you know any people who really want to get behind a mission, and that's what she's challenging people. Like, there are so many people that can. Well,
Yeah.
great. She's willing to do it. Who else is going to stand with her?
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. Very exciting stuff for you. So, yeah, I've got one more question for you. We're going to switch gears a little bit because this has all been fascinating. But at the end of every show, I like to honor another smaller mid-sized business or organization that is just doing an amazing job with their brand. So I wanted to ask you if there was someone that you wanted to give a shout out to that you think does a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have a dear friend and a mentor, an inspiration to me, and her name is Peggy O'Flaherty. She is the co-founder and CEO of Vinley, which is amazing. I'm not going to tell you everything that she does, but it's incredible. And she was part of Mavely, and so
Mavely? Okay.
recently sold that. So she is really a brand expert, entrepreneur, incredible mother of five children like myself. So
Wow.
yeah. Amazing, amazing woman.
Excellent. Well, congratulations for the shout out, Peggy. This is awesome. But Nancy, thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your insights on branding and the impact that branding has on nonprofits and their missions. But if people want to learn more about Lots of Love to either get involved or donate, where can they find you?
Yes, absolutely. They can go to our website, which is www.watts, WATTS, of love.org.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again so much for being here, Nancy. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
And thank all of you for joining us for this episode of the Turbo Branding Show. I hope you've been inspired to ignite your growth by leveraging your brand. And if you enjoyed it, I would love it if you could help me build a strong brand following for the show. So please share this episode and be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thank you, and stay tuned for our next episode.